Most of us live in a state of constant internal battle, exhausted by a war against our own negative traits and inner struggles. This is the first stage of awareness, a half-asleep climate. In this state, we possess no clear map of who we are, leaving us to navigate our own psyche in the dark. We make the mistake of looking at our anger, our shame, or our patterns of failure, and assuming they are the totality of our being. We identify so closely with these destructive aspects that we can no longer see a distinction between the trait and the person. This leads to a specific kind of dread, the terror of annihilation. It is the fear that if these dark traits are our only truth, then acknowledging them means acknowledging our own destruction. To avoid this perceived end, we choose to stay blind. We engage in self-punishment and pretense, hiding the struggle even from ourselves to keep the fear of being found out at bay. But this blindness only ensures the war continues. We remain trapped in a conflict we cannot win because we are fighting a version of ourselves that we have falsely labeled as the whole. Moving into the second stage, the first awakening, doesn't require a miracle or the sudden disappearance of your flaws. It begins when you simply name the traits you dislike and observe them as distinct parts of your experience. Acknowledge a destructive aspect, and you cease being identified with it. You are not your negative traits, nor the voice that judges them. You are the integrator, the conscious center that observes and decides how to utilize every part of your personality. By assuming the role of the observer, you reclaim the power of choice. The traits that once felt like they were consuming you are now merely tools or obstacles for you to manage. In stage 3, the real self functions as a deliberate chooser. Rather than blindly reacting to your negative aspects, you begin to explore new ways of responding to them. This exploration takes the form of a threefold dialogue, a conversation between your conscious mind, your destructive aspects, and your higher divine potential. This active communication changes the internal climate. Self-hate and the urge to punish are replaced by a patient perseverance and the steady ability to learn without being destroyed by them. This isn't a sudden transformation. It is an organic unfolding of your existing conscious potential, driven by the repeated choice to act from your center rather than your impulses. By choosing to dialogue with these fractured parts instead of suppressing them, you transform your inner life from a place of combat into a space of active self-determination. As this dialogue continues, you reach the fourth stage. The aspects of yourself that you once feared are dissolved and integrated, losing their jagged edges and becoming part of a unified whole. As these internal barriers fall, your awareness naturally expands. When you are no longer occupied by internal defense, your consciousness begins to perceive a reality beyond your individual personality. You begin to recognize that consciousness isn't a product of your brain alone. It is a universal force that permeates all matter. Every human trait you once struggled with is actually a manifestation of this broader energy. Within this larger context, the old terror of annihilation loses its foundation. It only existed because you thought you were the traits you hated. Once you find the you that observes them, you find something that cannot be destroyed. The world begins to feel familiar and safe. You realize that your true identity is part of a limitless consciousness, one that has always been the source of your power to choose and to change. Reaching this state isn't about becoming someone new. It is the process of becoming the best version of what you already are and living without the need to portray your own reality. Waking up as the integrator proves that the chaos was never the truth of who you were. You were always the consciousness that stood behind it, capable of turning that chaos into a masterpiece.